Aloha, friends. We're talking about technologies for seed saving because we're starting to think about next year's school garden. And one of the things we want to do is have seed to plant. We already talked about what are some things we're trying to achieve with our technology. We want to have a dry, dark, cool environment. So maybe I'll add dark and cool because in Hawaii, that's something to think about. And that we want to separate the seeds from the other organic matter. And that's also mostly because that's the kind of stuff that will hold moisture. So the dried petals or dried leaves, we want to get rid of that. And why save seed? Well, we thought about that for a little while and we came up with this short list, but there's probably other reasons too. It saves money. The plants are acclimated or they're adjusted to the conditions where they were grown so that you're going to have the water, the sun and heat, and the pest environment that the plants are used to. And you've already shown that these plants were successful because they produced flowers and then fruits and then seeds. And finally, we want to preserve native varieties and rare heirloom varieties of plants. So today we're going to look at a very special plant. It's not native to Hawaii, but it's important to us here. Now this plant goes by several different names. Some people call it moringa or moringa, or kalamungai. Now, the problem with common names, these first two are pretty close to each other. But this last one, kalamungai, maybe if you were talking to somebody about your moringa tree and they call it the kalamungai tree, maybe you wouldn't even know it was the same plant. So we can use the botanical name, the science name, with the genus and species. So Moringa olifeira is the name of this plant. And it has these very long triangular seed pods with these ridges that hang down from the tree. And they split on their own. And this one split from the old tree that we used to have on the inside school garden at Pōmaika'i. And the tree was removed, but we saved the seed. So good news. We can plant this very important crop. The leaves are very nutritious. They are shown to have anti-inflammatory properties, so inflammation is the root of lots of diseases in the body. So this is an important plant. So all you have to do is split it open. Look at that. That could hardly be simpler. And then look at these interesting seeds that come out from the inside. Look at that seed. It has the triangular shape just like the pod. Right, so here was the pod that had three faces, three flat edges. And then if you look at the seeds, if I turn them in cross section, look at that. I don't even know. They look like something out of Star Wars, yeah? Like some sort of spaceship. What do you suppose, there's the seed in the center. What do you suppose is the reason for this papery substance that's attached to the seed on all edges like that? Think about it now. Remember, these pods are up high in a tree. The seed pod ripens and splits. The seeds come out. How do you think this seed has given itself a chance to take a little ride to a new spot? Yeah, they are like little spaceships, little wind ships. Look at that. It's amazing. What an amazing adaptation. I have a lot of respect for this plant. All right, well, there's really not much to do to preserve this plant, but we want to make sure that we don't keep any moisture in the plant because we want it to be a nice dry environment. So I have a clean glass jar here. You could use an old jam jar or pickle jar, and I'm going to go ahead and just put my seeds inside. And then even though I've dried the pod well, there could be some moisture there. So remember the little trick of keeping these little silicone packs from, sometimes you get them in food. I save them from the seaweed packs that my kids like to eat. And I'm going to pop that in there to absorb any extra moisture. And then I'm going to close it up. Remember, we label it. So I have Moringa or Kalamungai, Pōmaika'i School, March 2020. Now, we already saved some sunflower seeds. So I'll just move this to the side to remind you. And now we have our Kalamungai, or Moringa seeds. I will not be putting these in the refrigerator. Okay, so we don't need it to be cold, just cool. And the reason for that is if I put them in the refrigerator and they get quite cool, then I take them out in Hawaii in our humid, hot air. And what's going to happen? The air inside is going to be colder than the air outside. So what's going to form on the glass? If I had cold air on the inside, it meets with hot air. What happens to cold air when it meets with hot? It's going to condense. It's going to come together and form little water droplets on the inside of my jar. We don't want that. Moisture is the enemy. So I'm just going to find a place in my pantry or my garage. I have a big garage with lots of windows. And I'll just put them on a low shelf where they will stay out of the sunlight and they will keep dry. So that now we have two sorts of seeds, important seeds, saved for our garden. We'll stop this video and then we're going to go ahead and use another seed saving technique that we have to work a little harder at, okay? And that's called winnowing. So you want to check out the next video in our seed saving series.